Morning, everyone. Hi. Thought again I would hop back over to YouTube since I know how to use this better than Teams and go through the 3 essays, and I would like you to pick one of these essays to write in full. So I'm going to go through one for teleological, one for cosmological, and one for ontological, and I would like you to pick one that I would like you to write in full. So it's your first full essay for next Friday the 27th of November. So in next Friday's lesson, I will be back. So in next Friday's lesson, I would like you to have your essays ready, because we're going to do some work on them in class. We're going to do our highlighting and things like that. I would also like you to be prepared for your ontological key knowledge test that obviously had to be postponed. So that is next Friday. But right, let's get cracking with the essays. So these are the 3 questions that you will find in your consolidation pack. So you've got space in your consolidation packs to write some notes, write some ideas, find some quotes, etc. before you get going, if you wish. So you have space there. The first question then, the first topic area is the teleological argument. And the question that you have is, evidence of design is from evolution, not God. This is simply an evolution versus God question. You need to pick your line of argument. Are you team evolution, and therefore everything has come about through chance mutations, or are you team God, as in Paley and Aquinas? So that is simple. You have to get off the fence and decide team evolution or team Paley and Aquinas and design. What you need to do then, if you're going to select this question to do, is you need to research evolution properly. Now, most of you did this when you did your fact files. So go back through your fact files, go back through the information that you've already researched, and you need to find 3 main themes for evolution. 3 things that you are going to talk about as far as evidence of why evolution does or does not work. So you need to find 3 arguments as to why evolution presents or might present this idea of design. And then they will become your 3 paragraph themes. So you will talk about one in one paragraph, one in another, and then one in your last paragraph with your introduction and your conclusion. So that's your essay, that's your 5 paragraphs. And so you need to research those 3 paragraph themes. There we go. So once you've done that, this will then be your essay structure, and I will take a photograph of the board as well and post it on Facebook so you can zoom in and have a look at this properly later, because I appreciate it's quite hard to see sometimes through the video. You need to use each of the points from evolution against Paley. So once you've got your 3 arguments, you then need to use one of the arguments then against Paley or Aquinas. Do not put Paley and Aquinas into the same paragraph. It's far too much to juggle. So use your first evolution point against either Paley or Aquinas and basically say which argument is more convincing. Is evolution more convincing to show evidence of design, or is Paley's argument? So have a look at design qua regularity, design qua purpose, have a look at Aquinas's archer and arrow metaphor, whatever it is that you want to do, and say which one is more convincing for evidence. Just by putting them against each other, so just by putting Aquinas against evolution, just by comparing them, that is not evaluation. You have to get your critical words in there. You have to actually use strengths and weaknesses. So the strength of evolution is, the weakness of Aquinas is. You have to actually evaluate the arguments. You can't just posit them against each other and expect that to be evaluation. So you have to decide why you think evolution shows better evidence for design than Paley or Aquinas, or vice versa. So strengths and weaknesses, which view is more convincing, and which one has more evidence. Now, I really want you to think about this word evidence. Why is evolution got better evidence than Paley and Aquinas? Paley and Aquinas use empiricism. Paley and Aquinas say by using their senses, they see design in the world that they then link to God, because they believe the most powerful and beautiful creation needs the most powerful creator. A bit like Leibniz's argument of sufficient reason, this idea of the design we have in the world, there has to be sufficient reason as to why it's here. And obviously Paley and Aquinas conclude that that's God. But why is that evidence lacking, yet evidence of evolution better? Because again, you haven't seen evolution happen. So why is the evidence that you can collect more convincing? So really think about exploring different types of evidence and why one piece of evidence is more convincing than another piece of evidence. So then that would be your essay. So quite straightforward once you've done your research and got your argument really set up in your mind. All right. Second topic option is cosmological argument. Now, the logical fallacies in Aquinas' three ways cannot be overcome. We had a go at this last week in class, and we know it's tricky. It's a tricky worded question. It is not a tricky question. And again, sometimes this will happen to you in exams where they will ask certain worded questions, but the question itself actually is just what we've covered. And this is just Hume versus Aquinas. Hume is the one that's raising the fallacies against Aquinas' three ways. So which team are you on? Are you team Aquinas or are you team Hume? So again, you need to decide, is it Aquinas' three ways or move, run, cause, contingency, necessity? Or is it Hume's fallacy of composition, fallacy of affirmation, and consequence? So which arguments make more sense? Which arguments do you think are more convincing? Is there evidence from the world, from cause and effect, from the movement in the motion in the universe? Is this evidence of God because it can't go back forever, so therefore there must be a start and that start is God? Or do you just think we weren't there, we don't know, using Hume's arguments on this idea that you can't go from things within the universe to the universe as a whole, so just because we find evidence of things doesn't mean this affects the universe completely? Which do you think again is more convincing? Are you team Hume or are you team Aquinas? Once you've decided that, you can work through this essay quite simply, remembering that it's Hume that's arguing that Aquinas has committed fallacies. Fallacies are mistake in logic. He's saying that Aquinas has committed a mistake in his logic, and what you're arguing is either yes, Hume is correct and these are fallacies that Aquinas can't overcome, or no, actually Aquinas doesn't commit fallacies and so therefore they can be overcome. So again, you have to decide which side is more convincing, and don't go for the obvious. Really try and take yourselves out of your comfort zone as far as your writing is concerned, because you've got nothing to lose. If your essay doesn't work, it's no big deal. This is about trying things and practicing things now, but going against your actual personal line of argument. So for example, if you maybe want to have a dabble with this idea that Aquinas can overcome the criticism presented by Hume, that's very, very clever. And actually your essays will stand out as better because you'll have to argue it clearer. So just maybe think outside your comfort zones. What I would advise, I think the easiest way of tackling this cosmological question is that if the cosmological question is your choice, is I would do a paragraph in each of Aquinas' three ways. So I would do the first one, the unmoved mover, obviously you've got your intro, unmoved mover, then one on uncaused causa, then one on contingency and necessity. So I would outline Aquinas' so line of argument, whether it's going to work and be overcome or not, then do Aquinas' argument very, very briefly. Don't forget to say what unmoved mover means, because obviously that takes you to the next level. Maybe get a bit of original text quote in there as well, but keep it within maybe 2 or 3 lines, so very short, and then say what the potential fallacies are against it. So what you could do is you could do the strengths and weaknesses of Aquinas on its own, so what the potential fallacies and problems are, then bring Hume in, and then bring Hume's fallacy of composition, for example, against it. So take your time with your paragraphs. Some of you seem to rush and crush everything together. So line of argument, Aquinas' argument, general strengths and weaknesses, what are the potential fallacies, what are the potential issues with that first unmoved mover, and then bring in Hume and use Hume specifically against motion or specifically against uncaused cause. So you could use Hume's fallacy of composition in all 3 paragraphs. That's the whole point of the essay. That's why it says Aquinas' 3 ways. It wants you to talk about each one of them. So apply fallacy of composition against each of his ways and then say which argument is more convincing. Don't forget you need at least 50% between your description and your evaluation. So when you're having a look at this, have you got enough evaluation in there? Have you got enough critical terms that you justify? Have you used the word because, this means, therefore, this implies? Have you used that language in your essay to really take your reader down what it is that you're saying? So I do a power of initial Aquinas' ways, link it back to Hume, and then say which one is more convincing. Brilliant. So the final essay, right down at the bottom, is the ontological argument. So apologies. Let me just grab something, and I'll try and put the board up a bit so you can actually see just while I'm doing the video. Hang on one sec. No point having all this stuff if you can't see it. Well, at least you can see cosmological. It's not made much difference for ontological, but at least I tried. I nearly knocked it off. There we go. Oh, well, at least I tried to make it a little bit easier to see, but never mind. So, ontological argument for the existence of God. The question is this: existence is not a predicate. And again, some of you will look at this and go, "Ooh, not sure." And again, you might get an easy question in your exam, such as, critically assess Anselm's argument, or Gornillo's criticisms are. Far more convincing than Anselm or whatever. So you might get an easy question. This one, again, sounds tricky. It's not. It is just, once again, Kant and Gornillo versus Anselm. Descartes an extra, but you can bring Descartes in if you want to. But that's it. Pick your line of argument. Are you team Kant and Gornillo or team Anselm? Very, very straightforward. Which team do you fall on? And so again, that will tell you if you're team Gornillo and team Kant, then you are saying existence is not a predicate. A predicate, so again, maybe want to write the word predicate at the top of your page or have it in your introduction just to remind you what it means. So a predicate is a quality that something cannot lack. It's something that makes it what it is. And so Anselm is obviously arguing that existence is a predicate of God, because God is that than which nothing greater can be conceived. Existence cannot be removed from God, because existence in reality was removed from God, then God could not be the greatest possible being. So by definition, God is the greatest possible being, and so that being must exist. So he's saying that's a quality of God that God cannot lack. That's Anselm's argument. Whereas what Kant and Gornillo say is no. It is not a predicate. Existence is not part of something. And so you need to decide which side you are on. Do not overcomplicate this. Don't bring any extra names. I would say pretty much for all of these, don't bring in any extra names at this point. Don't bring in little side arguments unless you really feel confident. You can make an essay just from the main names. I would recommend doing that. And then obviously if we redraft, I might help you take you down different side names as part of your argument. But I think for the first attempt at a full essay, I would not bring in different names unless you feel confident to give it a go. Again, give it a go, fail, no big deal. Line of argument is team Kant and Gornillo or Anselm. The easiest way to do this, so the easiest way, because again, this is quite a tricky one, as I've said, the easiest way of doing this is either a couple of paragraphs on Kant and a couple on Gornillo, or one on Kant and a couple on Gornillo. Do not mix Kant and Gornillo in the same paragraph. Far too much information. So just have 4 themes, maybe 2 Kant, 2 Gornillo, and again, I'm going with the people that agree with the question. So I'm going with Kant and Gornillo, not Anselm to start with, because the question is saying it's not a predicate and they're arguing it's not. So I'm going with the people that agree with the question. You don't have to agree with them though. So you could say something like, when Kant presents his arguments that existence is not a predicate, Anselm counters this more convincingly as to why it is. Kant's argument is da-da-da-da-da. So you can still start with Kant, even though you're going to side with Anselm. That's fine. But I would do a couple on Kant, couple on Gornillo, and so then you outline their argument again. So outline Kant very, very briefly. Then you could do a few general sentences of Kant if you want to. Getting more evaluation in there. Don't forget to start with your line of argument and then link it against Anselm specifically. So don't forget, Anselm has his God is that than which nothing greater can be conceived argument. He then has his reply to Gornillo's argument, and then he has the second argument, which is the existence is a predicate argument. You can use it against any of these. Again, don't bog yourself down with description. 1 point from Kant, 1 point from Anselm. Which argument is more convincing? I don't know why I'm doing this. Which argument is more convincing? So all you're doing is weighing them up. Keep it simple. You do not have to do a barrage of details and descriptions. It's actually really boring. Don't do that. I want to know their arguments. Who is more convincing? How are you going to argue this? And again, that's where you have to think. That's where you have to be clever. So avoid lots of descriptions. 1 point Kant, 1 point Anselm. Whose argument is more convincing? Is existence not a predicate? Is existence a predicate? That's pretty much it. So, as I said, I will take a picture of the board and put it on Facebook so that you can see the full board, and then you can work your way through it. Pick one, only pick one. It needs an introduction, at least 3 to 4 main paragraphs, and a conclusion. So you're looking at least 2 type sides of 12 font, maybe 2.5 sides of 12 font. This needs to be done in its completion for next Friday, and needs to be in lesson ready for the afternoon because we're going to go through them together. So please be prepared for that. If you have any problems or questions at any point, obviously our next session is going to be a Teams meeting, so I can talk about any issues then. But you can also email me, let me read samples, let me see what's going on, let me give you feedback. So let me engage with what it is that you're writing, whether you're working at college or at home, and keep it simple. If you feel like you're getting lost in your essay, go back to the question, go back to your line of argument. Everything is to do with your line of argument. If again you feel like you don't have a line of argument, go back to the topic, do a bit of research on the topic. These are like mini assignments, mini dissertations. Really explore the ideas. But if you don't feel confident, it's because you maybe don't know it well enough. Know the topic well, and you'll be able to run with it. Okay, so Friday, I will see you in the Teams meeting and send you a booking out for this. Next week, we're going to start Problem of Evil. So next week, we'll start Problem of Evil. And I will be back next Friday. So we're going to go over this, and you will do your key knowledge test on ontological argument. Right. Thank you very much, everybody. Any questions or comments, just get in touch. Let me know. And I'll see you all soon. Bye, guys.